if you're like me, over the last few weeks, it's been hard not to think about freedom. With all the red, white, and blue, the fireworks, the barbecues, all the time with family. One of the things that kept coming back to me was the two different kinds of freedoms that we have. The first one is freedom from. Now, what I mean by that is there are things that we don't like that we can get freedom from having to do those things. And that's what I'll call like a base level of freedom. No, that could be a job, a relationship, a friendship, any sort of something that you want out of. That's important. It's important to have that kind of power in your own life to be able to get free from things that we don't, that we don't enjoy or that we don't like or that are bad for us. But more important, I think, and a big part of our life as financial advisors is looking at and talking about freedom to pursue a passion, freedom to live your signature life, freedom to spend more time with family. And that's a different level. And one of the reasons that we do planning isn't necessarily to get freedom from, because quite frankly, the piece that you get from that freedom from is pretty short-lived, because before long, if you're not careful, there's something else you're trying to get freedom from. What we want to help you do is to develop freedom to live the life that you want. And that's a big deal. Now, over the last 6 months, for all of this year, it's been a bumpy ride. And so in a lot of cases, it's not uncommon for me to hear people say things that make me feel like they don't necessarily feel like they have as much agency, as much control as they'd like. And with things like gas prices and inflation, all those kinds of things, sometimes it's easy to feel that way. But one of the things that, again, I try to do is just provide some perspective. So I wanted to share with you 5 things that you do have control over, because again, I think that in times of fluctuation, it's important to remind ourselves of the things that we do have freedom to control. And so I wanted to share those with you. The first one is your cash flow. So I'm not a big proponent of restricting, going on crash financial diets, and all of a sudden, we're cutting off the cable, selling all of our furniture, and watching, TV with rabbit ears on our television on the floor. But I do think it's important to realize that we do, a lot of our clients, a fair amount of their spending is discretionary. So if you are concerned about what's going on right now, one of in fact, the probably major factor in your long-term financial success is the ability to control your cash flow, to choose when you're going to take a trip, to choose what you're buying, because everybody's inflation rate is different based on what it is that you actually buy, where you buy your gasoline. So over the last 2 weeks, I've had multiple trips through the town of Florence and seen 40 cents per gallon, so about 10% gaps between one station and another. So you do have a lot of choices. Again, I don't think this is a situation where you have to all of a sudden be particularly thrifty. But I do think it's important just to remember that you have options and that you have freedom to make some of those decisions. The second is what I'll call optimizing your financial situation. Now, there are lots of things that our clients buy on a routine basis that impacts their financial life, and some of them are important, and some of them maybe for you not necessarily as important. But you can optimize what you pay for things. I'll give you an example. And I've shared this before, but property and casualty insurance, you have to have insurance on your car, but you can save money by bundling it with your home, or you can have a fire alarm or a monitoring system, and that can get you a discount. Or you can look at whether or not you're with the right carrier. Same is true with life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance. Now, you may be paying for life insurance that you no longer need. Your kids are out of school. You've reached a certain standpoint. You're retired. maybe you don't need life insurance anymore, but maybe you do need long-term care. Now, you can make some decisions as to what's optimal for you, and we can help with that. But that's another area where you have freedom to choose how it is that you're spending your money. Now, one of the biggest expenses that we have, kind of number 3, is taxes. I've talked on this a lot, so I won't beat the drum too hard, but there are lots of things in terms of, I mentioned optimization, in making sure that you are making the most out of, if you're in a lower tax bracket, things like Roth conversions, or and which also, frankly, benefits potentially from a market pullback. But you've got other things like Medicare premiums at some point, and some of those kinds of things where you do have some choices in controlling your tax situation. You can do charitable gifting, for example, lots of options on that front. The fourth is I mentioned charitable giving, your legacy planning, your estate plan. One of the things that I like to spend time doing in times when the markets are acting kind of wonky is, again, to focus on things that we can control. And so if you've been thinking about updating your estate plan, getting things in order, sometimes it can feel good just to reassure yourself that you've marked everything off the list. And again, we're here to help with that. So if you want to review your estate plan, that's something that it allows us to feel like we're doing something without doing something like making dramatic changes in our investment policy that could have long-term impacts on our financial plan. And then the fifth is your investment allocation. This is a good time if you're concerned, if you don't enjoy the volatility, which, I mean, let's be honest, who does? But if you get uncomfortable, this is a good time. You do have control over that. We're here to help, but we want to make sure the biggest thing when it comes to how your investments are allocated is that they are going to set you up for long-term success towards the goals that you've told us that you have. And so I just wanted to, as we are, again, this is a month of celebration of time with family, of all of those things. Sometimes when the economy is a little bit unstable, fluctuating, it feels nice to do something and to remind ourselves that we do still have a lot of control. You have a lot of freedom too. You have lots of options and choices, and we're here to help. If you have any questions about any of those kind of topics, all of them are things that we can help with. But also, if you know someone who, whether it's a friend, family member, colleague, or coworker, especially someone who's concerned about the environment that we're in right now, whether that's political, economic, or otherwise, please know that we're here to be a resource. Our team is happy to spend 30 minutes with them. No obligation, no cost. We're here to help. And if you have any questions, or if you need anything in particular about your individual situation, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you again next month.